Hello and welcome to Going Places, a podcast all about migration in Southeastern Europe, Eastern Europe, and Central Asia. I'm Anna Kakushadze from IOM Georgia, and I'm here today with Dr. Jaime Calderon, IOM's Senior Regional Health Advisor, to find out more about HIV and AIDS in Southern Caucasus. Dr. Jaime Calderon, it's World AIDS Day on 1st of December, and the theme is Know Your Status. Why is that relevant to migrants?
When we say knowing your status, we don't necessarily mean that it's just for migrants, but it's for everyone. Knowing your status will give you a timely information when it comes to knowing your HIV status. And for those who turn out to be positive, then you will be able to institute some interventions. The doctors can provide treatment that will improve the quality and the longevity of your life.
And are migrants more vulnerable to HIV?
Well, migrants may be facing. Most of the migrants face higher risk when it comes to getting infection with HIV.
And
why is that? That's because when a person is taken away from their own social environment, where there are some pressure, or there is some pressure from the social or from the community that sort of defines how a person behaves. When you move the person to another social environment where he is more or less not in his own natural environment where he was born or he has been living for a long time, people tend to behave and do some risky behavior. So it's a matter of behavior, because what we have found is that migrants who are not in their own social environment, they tend to adopt some risky behavior. And risky behavior could be in many forms. It could also be engaging in risky work, like taking some difficult jobs which otherwise the people in that community would not take. Also, some migrants may also engage in risky behaviors, like going to sex workers, for instance, and or even some may engage in sex work. And this is something that may expose a person, a migrant, who has no knowledge on how to protect themselves to HIV.
So IOM has been researching HIV and also tuberculosis, and they tend to occur together, right? So what have you discovered about the dynamics of HIV in the South Caucasus and in the wider region?
Well, here in the South Caucasus region, we have learned there are a lot of migrants that are particularly moving within the region. South Caucasus and Eastern Europe are so close to each other. So when we say Eastern Europe, these are the Eastern European countries. You have Ukraine, you have Russian Federation, where the prevalence of HIV is quite very high. It has been decreasing in the past decade, but still the rates are quite high compared to the other European countries, much more to the global estimates. So therefore, if a migrant is traveling intra-regionally, and as we go back to that, to what I have said before, that migrants may adopt some risky behavior, then there is the risk for migrants to get the infection is quite high. Now, also, in terms of the findings that we have made in the region, because of this high mobility within the region, then exposure is quite possible. And also, we have the study that we have, we really found out was that particularly so among, we also did, by the way, a laboratory examination for HIV. For the prevalence of HIV is quite much higher compared to the prevalence of HIV among the local population. So among the migrants that were tested, the prevalence is a bit higher. Not really that high, and particularly since, of course, the study that we made in Armenia, it can represent the finding. Still, it was high to say that it is significantly higher for the migrants, the Armenian migrants that were in the study, compared to that of the local population. But here also the same findings we have found in Georgia, as well as also in Azerbaijan, that was covered by the study as well. Unfortunately, the study that we did for Georgia and Azerbaijan, could not really represent the migrant because it was taken the methodology that was applied was convenience sampling. So it's not really, there are still some biases that we have to deal with, but the finding was that the prevalence is higher among migrant population compared to that of the local
And
population.
among local
The rates.
population, do you think that there are some common features in post-Soviet countries?
The common features in the post-Soviet country, I think, that we have found is, of course, part of the study was to determine the knowledge, attitude, and practices of migrants. We have found that still, in terms of knowledge, when it comes to HIV, the knowledge is not very. How would you say? Compared to other countries, the knowledge is much better. But compared within the region, the knowledge is much lower compared to, if you look at the context of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, in terms of awareness raising, there is still a need to invest on such interventions for the region, particularly for the South Caucasus region. No, I mean, not particularly for the South Caucasus region, but for the whole Eastern and the South Caucasus region, Central Asia.
And so final question, how can migrants protect themselves, and what should they do if they have health concerns?
Migrants can protect themselves if they are aware about the problem. The dangers and the risk of HIV, and how you can contract HIV. Protection is knowledge is very important in terms of protection. In addition to that, if you have the knowledge about how to protect yourself for HIV, then you can apply these methods. For instance, the use of condom. When you it really saves lives if people protect themselves, particularly if they're engaging in sexual activity that is otherwise, not sticking to one partner. For instance, if there are multiple sexual partners, then you have to really protect yourself. And of course, the most important thing is early diagnosis. So if you know that you are HIV positive, you can have your treatment, and that will really help in terms of giving the person a good quality of life. At the same time, it has been proven that people who have been taking HIV early, HIV ART, that is the antiretroviral treatment, early in the phase of their disease, they have longer lifespan. Problem with HIV is until now we haven't really found the medicine that could really cure and remove the virus from our blood. There has been some studies and some very small number of people that it has been totally eliminated, but still in a majority of cases, in a big majority of cases, you cannot really say that you are fully treated. It can only the medicines that we have right now can just help you ensure that your immune system is good enough to protect your body from getting complications out of HIV.
Thank you. So this has been our interview with Dr. Jaime Calderon. We continue to raise awareness regarding this issue, and we encourage you all to know your status. Thank you.
Thank you.